What's up guys, my name is Joe and we are back with another episode of British Guy Reacts, and today we're going to be watching a video by the amazing YouTube channel Lost in a Pond. This guy Lawrence offers amazing insight because he's a British guy who moved to America. I hope he doesn't mind me reacting to his videos, but he makes fantastic content and I'm here to react to it. I'm going to leave his link down in the description so you guys can go check out his videos. This one is 4 ways British and American houses are very different to each other, which I'm quite intrigued about. You know, we all watch American shows here in England and we always see your massive houses, like 5 bedrooms, big garden. We always get jealous about that. If you're not subscribed to this channel, please click that subscribe button down below. 88% of people watching these videos aren't subscribed. Do me a favour, we're almost at 10k. Click the subscribe button, we've got like 100 left to go. Help a guy out, come on. Let's watch it.
And tea drinkers that we are, we love our kettles,
Okay,
don't we?
straight in with the tea talk.
They're not just any kettles. These are ones you plug in and then hit the switch to turn on the plug, because I forgot to mention that our plug sockets also have switches.
I'm guessing this is a preview for what's to come later, but I'm already hearing that you guys don't have switches, which is weird, but we'll leave that until he talks about it. Like I said, Lost in the Pond, go and check him out. Great YouTuber. He's an American citizen now, actually.
Hello, I'm Lawrence, and I'm on a quest to uncover all of the memos that Britain
Lawrence.
and America lost in the pond, and one of those memos pertains to houses, the things we live inside. If you're watching this video, it's quite likely you're either inside a house right now, or you're near one, because otherwise you wouldn't probably have internet access quite as easily. To anyone
There's a flat count. I'm not in a house, I'm in a flat or apartment, as you guys would
that
say.
might be new to this channel, come on in, get yourself a cup of tea. This isn't a genuine offer to come into my house. I'm just saying, join the channel. This is good. And hello to everybody who's been here a long time. Today we're going to look at...
And now he says that. Sorry to pause so much straight away. I don't drink tea. I'm actually probably more American at this point. I watch American football. I drink coffee. I don't drink tea. My mum and dad love a cup of tea. But even my dad drinks coffee. I'd rather take a cup of coffee.
Several ways in which British and American houses are very, very different. Having lived in the United States for over 11 years, I've lived in my fair share of houses here, just as I did in Britain. So I think I have a decent grasp of how
You're qualified,
houses
Lawrence.
work.
You are.
Even tiny ones like this one, which is about 400 square feet. I'm joking, this is a professional studio. Don't question me. And so without further ado, let's take a look at 4 ways that British and American houses are very, very different.
Number 1. Style.
Neither Britain nor America is devoid of variety when it comes to their housing styles, and that's because, well, with each sort of passing phase of history comes new designs to meet new needs and just new style preferences. And because of this variety, I'm not going to...
What was that random picture about that?
New designs to meet new needs and just new style preferences. And because of this variety, I'm not going to cover every single one of them, because that would keep us all here until next Wednesday, which would be good for my metrics, but not good for your sanity. So let's take a look at how some of the housing styles do vary from country to country. In Britain, a lot of the distinctive styles are also tied up with the period in which they were built. So you could go all the way back to the Tudor period, and you do find Tudor housing dotted around here and there. In fact, if you go to the city of York, for example, there's quite a lot of sort of Tudor buildings there. They're quite ornate with wood panels.
If you ever go to Britain, go to York. York's beautiful. Absolutely beautiful.
Paneling, and they're the sort of place that you might imagine that Shakespeare lived. But wood is less indicative of British houses than you would see in America, where wood is actually quite a common material for building houses. In Britain, from about the Georgian period onward, you're going to see quite a lot of brickwork. Georgian period houses absolutely exist. People live in them, but they tend to be these opulent-looking houses that have notable pops of white rectangle, which are just the windows. It's very nice. They look like dolls' houses that you should live in. But then come the Victorian age, we started moving toward these sort of like orangey brick buildings, right? And a lot...
Yeah, this is what my house kind of looks like. My family house, this kind of colour.
A lot of them were terraced houses, which is what Americans would call row houses. And they just look very industrial, right? You could imagine a chimney sweep going up and getting his face covered
We're working
in
class,
soot.
all right.
And then we move into the Edwardian period, where houses are sort of similar to those of the Victorian age. They're just lighter colours with more chimney sweeps, if Mary Poppins is anything to go by. Now, during World War II, when the Nazis bombed the ever-loving crap out of us, a lot of the houses went boom. And then after World War II, there was a housing boom. And you started to see a build-up of new, more simple houses, kind of like the one I grew up in. Now, that's a castle. That
I genuinely think there are some Americans
more simple houses, kind of like the one I grew up.
Believe that all English people live in castles, because I've seen some of these interviews where they ask Americans questions about like the stereotypes and stuff, and some people generally believe it, which is outrageous. I know a lot of you guys don't think that, but there are some people out there who genuinely believe it. We live in some Downtown Abbey kind of life.
up in that's a castle. That didn't happen.
Downton,
but I grew up in something more like this. That's not Lawrence's
That's actually more like my house rather than the other one.
actual house. Despite what fairy tales may suggest, most of us have never lived in a chocolate box house, but those do exist. A chocolate box house is the kind of house you might see in the Cotswolds, right? It's very quaint looking, it's got thatch roofing, and it looks like this. And if, like me, you're wondering why it's called a chocolate box house, yet it doesn't look edible, it goes back to the 1950s/60s when chocolate boxes would have on their facade a kind of depiction of a beautiful English countryside, and these types of houses would often feature on said box. Now again, this is by no means an entire repository of British houses. Neither is the following an entire repository of American houses. It's just the more common ones that you will see when you are here. So Cape Cod houses, you know these types of houses, right? They're the ones with the wood paneling down the side. And I said
I've seen these, yeah. I have seen these before. It looks okay.
a moment ago that, America makes good use of wood in this country because there's just so much of it. So many woodlands around the country, and it's a huge country from which to pull that resource, so they do, and it's cheap. But funnily enough, the Cape Cod style has its history with English settlers who came here in the 17th century and started building Cape Cod style houses in New England. Now, during the post-World War II period, partly to provide, housing to veterans coming back from war, there was a revival of Cape Cod style housing, and it started to be built not just in New England, but all along the East Coast and in the Midwest, and even out west. Anybody that's seen the Goonies will know that. And it was this style of housing that I first moved into when I moved to the United States. And I've got to say, even despite the Midwest winters, it was really warm. You'd think it would be quite drafty because of all of the gaps.
I was going to say, you guys have I don't know if it's all the states, but I know some places really suffer with hurricanes and stuff, and you just get some insane weather out in America. Is wood housing going to stand the test there? Surely brick would be a better material to use, but I guess if it's cheap, it's a way to go, I guess.
In the wood. You could go to specific streets or neighborhoods or areas of the United States and only find these houses for miles and miles. So I lived in one of those, but my grandparents-in-law lived in what is known as a ranch-style house. And these are sort of really low-down buildings, don't typically have 2 floors to them. And once again, these houses became popular after World War II. There was just generally a big sort of boom after World War II.
Oh, we get some stuff like this. We call them bungalows.
Again, in the United States, in that regard. The 20th century, though, did see more and more revivalism of old styles. So you had, mock Tudor, or should I say revival Tudor,
Not bad.
which more or less replicated the kind of Tudor buildings that you would see in England with some differences. And I've seen those types of buildings in Boston, for example. I've also seen them in Indiana. As well as that, the 20th century saw colonial revivalism, though most people don't live in those houses. Maybe
I say this is
those types of buildings
this one's
in
giving me
Boston, for
Purge
example.
vibes,
I've also seen them in Indiana. As well as that, the 20th century saw colonial
It's giving me Purge vibes, massive Purge vibes. If you know, you know.
revivalism, though most people don't live in those houses. Maybe one day when I get that grand piano, I'll think about it. And so that's an extremely basic and rudimentary breakdown of some of the different styles that you'll see in each country. But there's one big difference between all of the houses in both countries, and it's this.
The size.
Let's face
Of course, everything in America is bigger and better. We know. So, got to outdo us, haven't you?
it's time to face up to some home truths. Compared to America, Britain is microscopic. The United States is absolutely massive and needs to be stopped. And the same is true of each country's average house size. Right, so in the United States, houses just tend to be way more spacious. And we're not just talking about millionaire houses here. We're talking about your average house. So the average size of an American single-family home is approximately 1,600 square feet. In the UK, we're looking at an average of about 900 square feet. So
That's a big difference. Not double, but, we're getting towards that end of the scale there.
why the difference? Well, one reason is population density. In Britain, we're all a bit packed together. Actually, that partially accounts for why everything is smaller in Britain. Not everything, not the cups. But in America, there's just so much
Stop exposing us, Lawrence.
land,
Jesus,
and
man.
relative to that land, so few people. So, make them as large as you want, and they do. They're huge. But also, a large majority of American houses are relatively new, meaning that they were able to benefit from, building methods and materials that other countries like Britain were not. And the post-war expansion of American highways meant that this was enhanced even more. Those materials could be moved around the country more easily, and of course, this ushered in a more grand housing development. Now, all size aside, try saying that after 10 tepid tequilas, things become subtly
All size aside, all size aside, all size aside, all size aside. I've not had 10 tequilas, but,
different once you're inside the houses
Okay.
of either country.
The gadgets.
Is gadgets the right word? I don't know. I'll have to fire my graphics team. Either way, we're essentially talking about accessories, the things you have in your house that make that house work, even when you're doing the house work. So for example, airflow, right? America's bigger on its overhead fans and air conditioning units. We don't usually use those. I mean, we like to punish ourselves, especially in the summer, but we can crack a window open and it doesn't get oppressively hot.
It does get painful, you know, sometimes in summer. Like, we don't get that hot, but now and then it'll get to like 32 degrees. I don't know what that is in Fahrenheit. Our 32 degrees and it's hot, man. You're trying to sleep at night and you're sticky. You can't sleep. Then you wake up tired and it's still hot. It's tough without the AC, but we have good heating in winter.
Hot, always. And so we've mostly been fine with this situation. It does mean that insects get in. So daddy longlegs will get in the house and mosquitoes, but it's a small price to pay for not having air conditioning. I actually quite like air conditioning now that I've lived in the US. Speaking of insects, you also don't see in Britain those insect screens that you put in the windows, hence why they're getting in. In America, they're virtually in every house, but then again, you know, in Britain, we don't have black widows or brown recluses or the types of mosquitoes that make your face go like this. So I can see why it's justified. I mean, you still get ants, or is that just me? Not sure.
I used to sleep downstairs in my family house, and we had a cat that would just freely come in and out. So in the summer, I'd leave my bedroom window open, and my cat would just jump in and out all night. But if I close the window, it's way too hot. One night, he brought a dead mouse into my room in the middle of the night, threw it on my bed. Absolute nightmare. Imagine waking up at 4 a.m, boiling hot, dead mouse on your bed. Shocker. Absolute shocker.
How they get in, maybe cracks in the wall, or maybe through the plug sockets. The plug sockets, of course, are different in both countries too. In Britain, you have the three-pronged outlets, and in America, you sometimes have three, but occasionally two. And they're smaller in America than they are in Britain. That's one of the few things about which you can say that. Separate taps, of course, for hot and cold water. Americans combine them all into one. Where's the logic in that? I'm joking. And while we're on the subject of sinks, most British sinks don't have that sort of food waste disposal thing that you press the button and it does the noise. Amazing. That was one of the best things I discovered after I didn't discover it. Somebody else came up with the idea and I just used it. But
yeah, we don't have that. I have seen this before, again on like TV shows. We literally have like a little bin bag in the kitchen and you have to scrape the food off your plate into this food waste bag.
It's amazing. It's just so pleasing to know that all of that gunk gets broken down, and just don't put your hamster in there. I've learned that lesson from someone else. I didn't do it, just read about it on Reddit. Letterboxes. Firstly, Americans don't call them letterboxes, but mailboxes, and typically don't have them on the door, but outside in the yard. The garden/yard is different. Often smaller in Britain, but very well kept up, depending on the family. And just massive yards here with, you know, mesh fences and things like that, or picket fences. Back inside, a lot of properties in the United States will have walk-in closets that are built into the actual walls of the house, whereas in Britain you bring your own closet/wardrobe to put your clothes in.
Yep.
And that takes up more space, I've just realized. So we're shooting ourselves in the foot every step of the way, except when it comes to washing machines and dryers. How cool is this? We combine them both into one giant cube, whereas America has two separate cubes. And
we didn't even do that. We just have a washing machine, and then in summer you hang the clothes out to dry outside, and then you have to go and bring them back in, and you have to wait a long time. Or we have like a room in the house that's really hot, you just put them in there.
Tea drinkers that we are, we love our kettles, don't we? But they're not just any kettles, these are ones you plug in and then hit the switch to turn on the plug, because I forgot to mention that our plug sockets also have switches. And then, you know, you turn it on, don't need a stovetop, and it heats up. Just like that. You've got your water, Bob's your uncle, pour it into a mug, there's your cup of tea.
Two things here. Kettles are essential. Like, kettle is such a good way to heat up water. I've seen TikToks of this woman who tries to make a cup of tea and she's pouring, like, putting a tea bag inside the kettle and stuff, and it's painful to watch. But kettles, great invention. Why don't you have switches on your plugs? I thought that was just a normal thing. I'm trying to think of other countries I've been to now. Asia don't put switches on the plugs, thinking about it. Spain do. Switch is good because sometimes you want to leave something plugged in, but you don't want the electricity flowing through it, right? So you can leave it plugged in and just switch it off. And it means you won't ever stand on a plug. There you go. There's a good reason.
In America, you do have the stovetop kettles, and part of me likes that because it does this really pleasing whistling sound at the end. Now, if you were paying attention during that list, you may have noticed that I touched on some of the terminological differences when it comes to housing in either country. And that brings us on to our final entry.
The words.
It wouldn't be Britain and America if they weren't two countries separated by a common language, and the same is true of the housing world. So let's finish with a rapid fire round looking at those very words. So here in Chicago, I live in a flat, except in America,
Apartment.
they don't call it flat, it's called an apartment. Something else that you'll find in America, though, are these condominiums or condos, if you don't fancy saying a word that has condom in it. And we do have those.
I'd never understood what a condo is. This is another thing we always hear in American shows. I don't really know what a condo is.
In Britain, they're usually called common hold properties, and I suppose most British people wouldn't go around using that term, whereas you actually hear the term condo quite a lot. It's been suggested to me that I move into a condo, and it sounds good. I mean, when I first heard the term, I thought it sounded like I might be moving onto a lakeside boat or something like that.
Yeah, that's what I always
It is like an apartment, but it's one you would buy. It's real estate. Now, as a child and young adult, I grew up in a house that was known as a semi-detached house. That's when you have a house adjoined to one other house on one side, but not
That's
on
what
the
mine
other
was.
side. In the United States, this is known quite simply as a duplex, which is not a wrestling move. If it is adjoined on both sides with another house,
I don't think duplex is a wrestling move anyway. I think he's thinking of suplex. Isn't duplex like a toilet roll brand in England?
then you are part of a line of houses that are known as terraced houses in Britain. In America, they're known as row houses because
Makes sense.
they're all in a row, presumably. Then there's council housing in Britain versus the projects in the United States, and that's just another way of saying public housing. To control the electricity flow in Britain, you have the mains power. In America, you have the grid power. And what if you're sick and tired of the place that you're living in and you just want to relocate somewhere else? In America, you would just simply move. In Britain, you'd move house. And on that note, I'm going to move out to my outro transition because this is the end of the video. Let me know in the comments below if you're watching this from your house right now, or just if you're not.
Okay, guys, we will leave it there. So that was another video from Lost in the Pond. The differences between American and British houses. There were some differences that I expected there, size being one of them. The one that's really took me by surprise, which isn't really a big thing, but it's just kind of weird to me that you don't have switches on your plugs. I didn't realise that was a difference that we were going to see. The words, I kind of knew some of them. I didn't know duplex. I still don't really understand what condo is. An apartment that you buy. There it is. You guys let me know down in the comments if these are all correct from your side, if you are American, which most of you guys are. And subscribe to the channel, give the video a like, and I'll see you for the next one. Take it easy. Peace.